All right, so welcome back to the Revamp podcast. Today, super excited to have Armand Salloum with us. Thanks for coming on.
Thanks, Drew. Same here.
Armand
Pleasure.
is a real estate investor, Delaware County.
Little guy, yeah.
Little guy that owns 30 doors.
Yeah.
I don't consider that a little guy.
It was a side hustle, put it that way. It was definitely wasn't my main focus.
I dig it. And that's what I want to dig into, what that journey was like for you. How did you start? I know you come from the auto industry and a really awesome company as well, right?
I went to college, so background, just so you know. And I got a degree at Temple University, finance and management. Actually completed it, which I use that word very clearly because I think that was a character builder, so I did the college thing. My oldest brother, ironically, went to college but didn't complete it, right? And he turned out to be the brains, the engineer, so we got into the car business, and I got my degree, and I said, well, I'm going to help you build it. So we built the business. We started as a body shop, and we bought another building next door and made a mechanical shop. I told him I want to add some parts, so we added parts. So I kind of brought some of the management and business, skill set and financials, whatever. And then he decided he wanted to start building engines and building race cars. And then it got to the point where we were almost like one city block, one side, and then a half a city block, another side. And it was like 26 employees, and we were doing machine work, $1 million equipment and stuff where you CNC, like the robots you see. He's still into that, my brother. And so anyway, I got the degree. I finished it, did that. About 25 years later, I'm very slow, right, to learn. But when I learned, I did get it. Anyway, I finally thought to myself, I'm like, what's my plan, right? Like, how? Because I'm trading my dollars for hours, right? It's a labor, right? And so, how much physically can I do this, right? You know what I mean? I'm a physical guy. I like to be physical. I enjoy it, right? But I know body's going to have a limit, and I'm not going to be able to do it. So, what is my exit plan? And I didn't have a clear plan. My brother and I couldn't come to clear terms on partnerships, and as brothers, we would fight. So I said, you know what, this is not healthy. I definitely need to get out of here, one way. So we were partners on the land, right? That was my first big real estate investment.
Okay.
And so I knew that I would get out of the car business eventually, and I'd get rental income from this property. And, it's South Philadelphia. It was an up-and-coming market for sure. Property's grown, and we've got a lot of equity in it. So we did good there. So anyway, I started looking. I actually got into a pretty bad bicycle accident because I like to ride road bikes outside, and that was a turning point mentally where I had to I was my mouth was wired. I was in a hospital, flown in, blah blah blah. Lifetime. I had to get out, and I said I got to do something. Little ballsy.
That made you start
I had
thinking,
kids, and
right?
The kids were younger, probably similar to the age where your kids are. So I had the fear of how do I get out of business? How do I start a new business without and still be able to provide? I was this main, breadwinner for the family. So, and I just want to share this because I think a lot of people are in this situation, right? They're like, dude,
absolutely.
How do I get out? How do I
feel stuck?
What is, you know what I mean? You don't want to keep trading your dollars for hours, right? Your hours for dollars. But anyway, so I looked into real estate, and I have to say my shortcoming was I didn't do enough studying. So this was the first wave in '08 when everyone crashed. Okay. I bought a few at my uncle because my uncle had a knack for going to tax lien sales and buying properties, and I would, so I partnered with him on a couple, and they didn't work out that great. And then, but I learned a lot, right? So we all have our pitfalls. We learned. So I learned, oh man, this sucks. So I gave up for 10 years probably. No, not 10 years. I'd say about 5 years. And I started in 2013. My cousin calls me up. He's a realtor. I'm watching him. He says, Arm, there's a little pocket. I just want you to see it. And I look at it. And I was mentally at the point where I was like, I got to do something, right? And I didn't have a lot of money, again, because I was supporting the family, and the car business was good, but I wasn't able to save a lot of money. But luckily, my house was paid off. So we all talk about how do you start, right? How do you
get the
leverage
money? Yeah,
right, exactly, capital. So I finance background, I figure that stuff out. I'll get a line of credit, and then I use the line of credit, and then I bought the first property. And at that time, it was awesome because things were cheap. It wasn't a buyer's market. It wasn't a seller's market. It was a buyer's market. And so, things would be on the market for a while. You give an offer, you get it. So my formula was I bought the first house at like 40, 45. I put about 20, 25 into it. I'm into them about 75.
Okay.
I had about 150 line of credit, so I bought one or two, rehabbed them at the Burr, which is, I bought them, I rehabbed them, I rented them, I refinanced and repeated it, right? That's the Burr. And so on the same block, another one popped up. So now I'm, farming in this one neighborhood.
What year are we talking now?
So I started my first, so all right, let's talk goals. 2013 was my first property that I invested, after my learning lessons.
Before the stuff with your
Wave
uncle
one,
and
which I
everything.
screwed up. I had to do this part-time. I said, I'm commuting from Westchester to Philly. That's where the car business is. VAC Motorsports is the name. If you want to Google it, definitely great. If you're into BMWs,
the best.
It's a big name, right, in the performance world. So I was commuting, so that was exhausting, right? And everyone was like, well, how are you going to do it? How are you going to do a side hustle? I'm going to do it, right? Because mentally, the why became so strong that there was no reason to stop. I wasn't sitting around talking shit. I wasn't watching sports. I was like a pit bull. So once I've got my teeth in the meat, my wife will tell you I have trouble stopping, right? So how'd I do it? Part-time, right? Still ran the business. You can ask anybody there, and still I was involved in the industry. I was on a board of a BMW national group thing, so I would travel and participate on emails. So that garage business was taking 50 hours to 60 hours plus commute, right? So where are you going to get the time, Arm? How are you going to do it? Well, in the morning and at night, and then I dedicated Saturdays.
There you go.
So that was a plan. And then my plan was like, I'm going to start small because I'm a small guy. I think small. I don't think let's scale up immediately. So I said, let me just do this one at a time. If I get one property a year for 10 years, I get 10 properties, that's my nest egg, right? That's what I thought. And so I hadn't really even thought income. I was thinking maybe if I get $5,000 a month, I'd be happy, right? This is how funny it is. Start the first one. It's not too bad. It's going smooth. I have some landlording skills I had to learn, of course, along the way. But I didn't give up because I wasn't giving up. Like once I start, there's no turning back. That's this mentality when we talk this mindset. And so I did that, and then I refinanced, and I got money back. And I'm like, oh, so I could repeat this. So I got another 150, bought two more in the block, and did the same rehab. So now I started learning. I'm reading a lot of books, right, on investing in property, a lot of podcasts, learning a lot from others, really. So I would use my commuting time as incubator, right, mental incubator, and I would listen. So I did not waste a minute. It was like learning on the way in, learning on the way out. And on the way in and on the way out, I would stop because it was like all the properties I bought were between work and home. I just stop in, do a little something, review it. Next day I had a goal, call the insurance, call the bank, call this, whatever. Every day I just knock off a little at a time.
Chip away.
Nothing, you know what I mean? I didn't do tons of hours, but I would say probably about 10 hours a week is what I would put in, maybe 15 hours a week in the early days on the real estate stuff, right? And so within 7 years, I got 23 properties.
Real estate investors, if you're looking for your next deal, you need to check out revamp365.ai. Whether you're looking for a deal to flip or to rent, or even a deal to wholesale, we got you covered. You know what type of deals that you're looking for, so why are they always so hard to find? Well, to put it simply, traditional real estate marketplace platforms weren't built for you. They were built for homeowners. Revamp 365 was built by investors for investors. Build your buy box and instantly filter entire markets to find the precise properties that you're looking for. You can browse wholesale and MLS deals. You can run comps and access all data even if you're not a licensed agent. If you are a licensed agent, you're going to close more deals because you can set up buy boxes for all of your investor clients. You can upload and sell your off-market deals. And most importantly, you're going to set deal alerts so you never miss a deal that matches your buying criteria. Look, you know that missing one deal in the investment world can cost you tens or even hundreds of thousands of dollars. But you probably don't have 80 hours a week to invest in underwriting every single deal that comes on the market to be able to see if it's a fit for you. This is your solution. Go to revamp365.ai/podcast today for a special lifetime offer that we're only making available here. Normally, plans are $100 or more per month. And if you ask any of our members that have closed 1, 2, or multiple deals, they'll all tell you the platform paid for itself for 20 years with the first deal that they did. So for a limited time, you can go to that link at revamp365.ai/podcast to get a lifetime offer to access this software, saving you a boatload of money, and even better, giving you opportunity to find your next deal today. But don't wait, we won't keep this available forever. Go check it out, revamp365.ai/podcast. Beautiful.
Right? It was easy, right? Easy times. We all have to say probably from 2013 to 21, it was real easy time.
A lot
then
easier,
the market got a little crazy.
Yep.
And so in the last 2-3 years, I haven't bought any. But what I also learned is I learned I needed multiple streams. And so the snowball effect became really cool. You don't really feel the snowball effect in buy and holds until you kind of get past the 10th or 15th unit. Then you start to feel the snowball. And I bought them all right. And a lot of people I knew, and I'm watching this last 3 years, a lot of people aren't buying them right. And they're going to force rents to go high. And rents are, I think you ask me, a little too high for the average person. They still consider it relatively affordable in this market, but I do think people are getting tapped out.
Absolutely.
And I think I'm safe because I didn't even raise all mine. And
Right.
I'm still almost 50%. You know what I mean? NOI is 50%. So
Beautiful.
after PITI, 50%. That's amazing, right?
Yep.
So I could still be generous to my tenants, take care of them, and I'm still doing very well, right? And I think I'm safer. When people run from others that are overcharging, I'm going to be okay, right?
Yep.
So that's a great thing. So, and then I had also, the one from my financial background, I knew I had to get an IRA going, but for years I couldn't put any money in an IRA, right? So when I started getting some, I'm working, in the car business, whatever, $100,000 a year or whatever that was, anything extra was extra, right? So then I would put that into my IRA. Then IRA started growing a little bit, and now I learned from all the podcasts that I could lend out my own money as a bank, or I could borrow my own, you know what I mean?
Yep.
And so now I said, okay, that's another stream of income. So now I got my job, which a job, by the way, if you're figuring out how to get involved, is a wonderful thing. You want to love your job. You want to be a high performer. You want to love your boss. You want to, give back, because that W-2 is actually why banks love you.
Absolutely.
And that was another thing I had to do with my brother. As a partner, I couldn't get loans. They didn't like that I was a small business owner, and I couldn't start. So I had to literally tell my brother, dude, I want out. Like, I'm still partner with the property, but I can't be partner in the business. So I became an employee, still kicked ass as an employee, still did my job, performed high level, high standards. But now I was more appealing to the banks.
Yeah,
right? So I learned that from again, podcasts. When I was like, we were in business, my brother and I, we're trying to expand. And we were like, the business is making $5 million a year, right? And I'm thinking, we could not borrow hundreds of thousands of dollars. It was very difficult to do. And meanwhile, I'm watching people in the real estate industry who only have a couple rental properties borrowing a couple hundred like that.
Yep.
And I learned. So that, again, you start to learn, insights. And I catered myself to appeal to the banks. And so that allowed me to have the job and then have a performing assets. All my assets perform. They all make money. The lease is proof of income. You take it to the bank, you get more money. And so then I'm in the circle of other investors. I'm going to ROIs and to real estate REIs. And I met a lot of investors that needed some money too. And then I learned about how I can move my money to a company that's what they do, right? They manage the IRA for you. It's a self-directed IRA, SD IRA. And then I lend that out. So now I took my money out of the market because I didn't trust the market. Some of it crashed and, I lost some money there. And I was like, I don't want to take control of it. And I want to do it. So that's a third stream. Whatever percent you lend it out to, 10, 12, 14, whatever the market, whatever situation. But that's another stream for future.
Love it.
Right?
Love it.
So you got to have different stages of finances. You got to have your current money. You got to have some for medium term and some long term. But anyway, the big why was I knew that there was no way I was going to have enough retirement money. I wasn't going to be able to pay for my kids' college if I wanted to. And so I had a lot of whys to kind of, get me started.
So even from the start, was it did you know that the company, the VAC, was kind of a means to an end? Or when you first started, you were like, well, this real estate investing venture journey, whatever you want to call it, is going to be that will be my nest egg. That'll be supplemental income. But maybe I can coexist with both of them forever. Yeah. Or did you know from the start?
No, I mean, you could say I kind of either fell in love with the car business or it was a habit. Right? I don't know what it was, but I didn't think I was going to get out of it. But I knew that I had to have an alternative because otherwise I'd be doing those same long hours with no options,
forever, no
choices. And so this year, 33 years later, January 1st, 2024, I promised my brother. So first of all, I'm a big guy about word. If I give my word, it's happening, right? So last year I gave him enough notice. I said, end of that year, we're going to be done. We had to do some rehabbing to that property. I had to deal with the city, and we had a big construction project. And but I kept my word at the end of the year. I said I got to go, right? And so now I'm in a new phase. So why I got there is because the income I had part-time set up on the side, doing my real estate work, exceeded my regular income by double or more, right? And not to mention my lending money that I make in addition to. So I have two streams. Of course, the lending money is a small part, but I do it for fun. I do it for relationships, to stay in contact with other investors, right? So there's a lot of benefits that way. And, you never know. One day we could partner on one thing. I tell the guys if you want, or who knows, right? Or it's not a good time for you to have the deal and you call me and, right? So there's, it's a networking opportunity.
Of course.
But anyway, so no, to answer your question, I can't really say, I didn't think when I started at one a year, I figured 10 years, but in 7 years, I more than doubled the goal.
Dude.
To say that I knew that was the exit, no.
That's where it was going.
When I saw the numbers and it's snowballing, I was like, this is cool. And I played the Rich Dad, Poor Dad. Did you ever use that game?
Of course.
And that was a game. I played it with my kid, and I remember, and he laughs every time. We played one time. It was me, my oldest son at the time, who was probably 15, and my middle son, or my youngest son. And I remember it was the game puts it in it's a rat race, they call it, right?
Yep.
How do you get out of the rat race? And I remember my oldest son, he had all this child support he had to pay, and all this child stuff he had to pay. And he
kept getting the bad cards. Really getting the shit end of the stick.
And I was laughing. I'm the dad. I'm saying, this is life, It
is. It's life, man.
Isn't that hilarious? So anyway, but that's what happened. And the game was funny because at that time, I exited the rat race, right? And so Kiyosaki's goal was you get out of the rat race when your income could exceed, when the rental income or whatever, your investment
cash flow exceeds
your current job, right? Yep. And so I had been past it for a couple of years in the car business already. I had exceeded it.
Yep.
And I didn't really need it, but I was addicted to the labor. I mean, I was addicted to that feedback. So And of course, the relationships. I had a lot of relationships in there. Like, how do I get out of it? How do I leave? And honestly, it took me a couple of years to come to terms with that. So anyway, now I do love the freedom and the lifestyle. I'm a very high energy guy. I don't like to sit around. I like to do a lot of stuff and get things done. I like progress. I like being industrious. So, I just take on more things in my real estate. Where if I would pay for somebody, I just do it myself or something now if I have the time. But I know mentally I'm priming for the next wave, right? The next purchase wave. So I'm lining up my finances and expanding my lines of credit if I can, so that when the buying time comes, so I've learned that from other experienced guys in the industry. So.
A lot to unpack there, man. A lot to unpack.
It's pretty neat. There's a lot going on.
But to summarize, how cool is that? Like, effectively, in 10 years...
7 years. In 10 years, I exited, but I could have left in 7.
Okay. Even better, right? In 7 years, starting to invest in real estate, and you were able to retire. Yeah. You were able to retire.
Yeah, and I would attribute that, honestly, mostly to knowledge or learning, reading, and willingness to learn, right? Like seeking knowledge, right?
Yeah.
Not, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know. I was a kind of boring guy, my wife would tell you. I'm watching YouTube channels.
I can't imagine you as a boring guy.
I mean? No, but like you know what I mean? Like, I like, the only thing I'll stop for to watch other than that is football. I like football, but I like rather play sports than watch them. I'm not a watcher. I'm an in the game guy. Always have
that's
been.
How I always was. Yep.
You know what I mean? Not a spectator, and so you could say the same in life. I'm willing to kind of dive in and let's get it done. Like, I'm always the guy. What's to do? Let's freaking get it. Let's stop talking. Let's get it done.
Let's do it. Yep.
Like, that's me. And
that's the way that I learn, and that's the way that so many people learn. And they don't even realize that they're spending more time reading more books, hiring mentors, doing coaching, doing courses, which are all great. But if you don't actually go take action, you're still never really going to learn anything, in my opinion. You know, go and do it. Put stuff that you learned into action.
Yeah, and so along that line, I think the thing that. So for 20 years, I didn't take any action. So you have to ask yourself why, right? Why didn't I take action for 20 years? In my mind, I kind of knew. I knew that I didn't want to keep doing, like, I can't maintain that level of physicality, right? And so I was never big on looking too far down the road, but I'm comfortable with a 5-year plan, right? That's acceptable. Okay. I'm not a big, 20, come on.
It's hard to plan out that
right?
far.
So, and I'm okay with a year or 2 plan. It's even better, right? So I'm give me a small...
incremental,
right,
achievable
goal,
step,
right?
Yep.
Like, sometimes I think people overwhelm themselves and they're like, how am I going to get 23 properties? No, you get one. Just get the one, right? How do you get the one? Okay, break it down into a couple of steps to start there. And how do you do it? Well, I'm busy. I'm like, well, you only need an hour a day, really, to take one step today, next step an hour tomorrow, and an hour tomorrow. And each one of them little steps is the building block, right? But that is a fascinating thing. I look back now and I say, honestly, I didn't think that I'm 57. And, as a kid, right, as an entrepreneur, when I went to college, I'm like, I could retire at 45, right? That would have been an awesome goal, right? But it was just that. It was just that word. And I didn't reverse engineer it. I didn't break it down into plans. I didn't have you know what I mean? And I think that's a problem with achieving anything, is that lack of clarity.
For sure.
You could say it, but how are you going to make it happen? And so I think the shifting point for me was around 40, after I had a bad bicycle accident. I got flown in, my mouth was wired shut, trach tube, 150 stitches on my face, 15 screws here to hold me together. And I was like, I had just started riding bicycles. I was never into working out. I was was just physical. I like playing, but I don't like to work out. That changed me. Something there changed me. And then I started riding bicycles, like endurance, like high speed, 30, 40, 50 miles.
Wow.
And I think, so I have to tell you, so two things I think were pivotal, like taking action. I had also, I don't know if you heard of this program called Landmark Education, right?
Yep.
They call it the Forum. That was they used to call it the Forum. They have other classes they teach now, but it was a self-improvement. You go away for the weekend, you're there for the weekend. And I did it for a couple of times, and I had done it right after my accident too. And I was like, I got to take action, right? Like I got to get some traction. Can't just talk. And I got to keep my word. And that's what they preach that they're keeping your word and how huge that is, right? So what's that mean? And how do you take it another step? And how do you leave your past in your past and not let your past design or dictate your future, right?
Yeah.
Huge things. Like, dude, these are life-changing. And so I don't think anyone's going to succeed unless they kind of have a lot of these, mechanisms in place, right? The mental things in place. And I think so. Those were two shifters. So I started riding endurance, and I likened it to like a parallel life, right? So you're suffering in your current life, physical life. You're suffering a job. How am I going to deal with this employee? How am I going to deal with this boss? How am I going to deal with this customer? How am I going to solve this problem? And it's brutal. So you get a chance to kind of say, I'm going to ride, and you get out there and you ride. So I still ride bikes. I rode this morning. I did 10 miles in 35 minutes over hills.
Okay.
Up and down hills. Brutal, right? And I go out for 45 minutes to an hour, but it's intense. My heart rate's 145 average. Right?
Wow.
I'm 57.
And it's hot out.
It's hot.
It's hot.
Yes.
It's very humid this morning.
I did it this morning. So anyway, I think it's exciting, and I've become addicted to it. And it's funny because my wife was always into that, but I wasn't, right? And I look at her like she's weird. Now she looks at me like, what the hell happened to you? And so, but I liken it, and I use that a lot throughout my career or self-improvement is like, whatever I'm dealing with in my real life, I take it out over here in this life, and I'm working it through, and I'm like, churning away, and it's intense, and I'm in it. And then, but I through that energy, the physical and the mental energy, you come a little more clear somehow.
Yeah.
It really does.
Yeah, no, it makes sense.
It's fascinating. It really is. And so you come back, you take that and put it into your real life, and it empowers you, it gives your energy level up. You could take more beating because now you volunteered to take a beating here.
Yep.
So taking a beating here is no big deal. It's now I choose to take it, bring it on, right?
I love that.
That's the mentality, and that shift was huge. And then, of course, having to keep my word, which is the only reason I get on the bike is I have to keep my word, right? Why do I get back on there? You talked about going back in the gym. When I retired this year, I think you probably heard, we talked, I'm back in the gym. And I started, I'm 200 pounds, I'm 190 now.
Okay.
In 6 months. And then I started doing I could only do 5 pull-ups before. And I do 12, right? And it's not.
Congratulations. No, that's fantastic.
And these are, but every day I don't want to go in the gym. Every day I don't want to ride. And what I do is I'm a systems guy. So I'm like, one day I'll ride, so I know what I'm doing. And the next day I'll do weights. And I alternate to keep my aerobic up, to keep my energy up, and keep my strength there, right? So anyway, these I think, and I used to grow up and think, why do a lot of successful people work out? And that's why, dude. It's
there's a lot to it.
Yeah, I don't know if you listen to Jordan Peterson, another fascinating guy. He says in there, he said that the road to enlightenment, he said, is voluntary suffering.
I love that so much.
Isn't that so true, though? I was like, I heard that, I'm like, wow, that is so true. And then I enjoyed that suffering because I volunteered.
Your ability to embrace suffering there's a direct correlation to what you're going to do in life. Because you have to not only be okay with suffering, right? It's like a lot of things probably in the auto industry as well as real estate. A lot of it sucks. A lot of it's really hard work. It's like we can talk about, the sunshine and rainbows of 7 years, retirement, made a lot of money, but there's a lot of hardship in there too.
Dude, who would want to put in 50, 60 hours, car business, plus commute, and then put another 15 hours, like a Saturday and mornings and nights here and there a little bit, right? The average person doesn't want to do that, right? And then we all talk about the why. And then so I guess it just took me a while to to manifest that why, honestly. You know what I mean? It took me 25 years, but I tell my kids, and some people are young and they're too hard on themselves, and I'm like, dude, I woke up at 40 years old and realized some shit. And you know what I mean? And I was still, in 7 years, able to turn it around, right?
Yep.
So, and I, honestly, that's part-time. And I was like, if I applied myself full-time, where would it be? How would it be? And so now we're going to discover, you know what I mean? I got a little more time. We'll see where it goes.
Dude, one of my favorite books that I ever read, it was by M.J. DeMarco. He has two, and both of them were good. I forget which book it was from. It might have been The Millionaire Fast Lane.
Millionaire Mindset or Millionaire Next Door?
No, it was The Millionaire Fast Lane, and then the second one was Unscripted. I really love that one. I forget which book it was from, but the principle was having that pivotal moment in your life, and whether you're entrepreneurial or not, but it's the fuck this event. It's like that pivotal moment where just kind of something inside you snaps, and it's like, I can never be the way that I was before. And every decision that I make from here on out is going to be different because of this event. And it sounds like there were a couple things coming together and converging for you at the same time. But then the bike accident was probably the thing that sets you over the edge, right? It's like, man, I have to do things different.
Yeah.
Yeah,
and life, you know, you could always say life wasn't bad. And again, listen, success, you know, some people think it's money. Honestly, it's not, right? I mean, success to me is you set your mind to something and you achieve it. Yeah. That's success. Simply put, right? I mean, you know what I mean? Like now, you know, if I'm, you know, I don't see there's many opportunities in real estate. So I'm sitting back. So I kill time with other goals, right? Like my goal will be working out. What can I do working out? What can I do in my house? What can I do? Always trying to set a new goal, right? So, so my next goal is like if I'm making 25, you know, a month take home or whatever, like my next goal will be double that. And, you know, so in the next couple of years, my goal is in 2 years to go to 50, right? A month, I love it. Spending money, right? So, and that's still maintain the principle and, you know, whatever's keeping it going, right? It's like to keep the machine going, right?
And see, that's the interesting thing, right? Is like, because you're at that point now that you're out of the rat race, right? Yeah. You don't need to do anymore. No. So a lot of people can't wrap their head around that. It's like, well, why? Why would you take on more stress to double your income if you don't need it? Go do what you want to do. But it's not just the money side. No. You hit the nail on the head, man. It's the, I need a challenge. I need that next step. And look, dude, entrepreneurs, like, we just love solving problems. So a lot of times that equates to, I'm going to create a problem so I can solve it. You know?
It's funny. So I talk to, and I, you know, sometimes I think I'm weird, like I'm stupid. Like, what's your problem? Why don't you like hunting? Why don't you like golfing? I mean, I did martial arts for 10, 15 years. I'm still involved with it. So that was like a side thing. But the interesting thing is like, I keep asking myself, where's my love? And I like the game of business, making deals, doing deals, right? So it's a game, and I think, you know, I like to be in that game. There's a scoreboard. Right? So like people they call it hunting is game, right? It's a game. You go out, the game is the hunt. Well, you're hunting for deer, I'm hunting for deals. It's the same energy, like the excitement of like, oh, this could happen. So even like right now as we speak, my brother brought me a friend who's in a bad situation, distressed, that has property, he wants to sell it, and so I'm working with him, trying to see if I can make it happen, like make the deal happen, help him out. I got something to do now, rehab it, flip it, whatever, you know. And so, but I can't I can't get excited about playing golf. I mean, entertaining, okay, or having a sport full time. Like I need something a little more challenging.
I get that.
Or I don't know. It is definitely the game of the business. You're right. What is it about it that keeps us?
I think a big piece of it is that we're broken, you know, but in a very effective way. So it works out. It works out.
You're right.
We're crazy.
Why I mean, look, it's not that we don't. One of my goals is I have 4 vacations a year, about a week each, you know, and if I'm happy with that because we just went to visit my son in Hawaii for like almost 3 weeks, right? And so I get out there and we go to my wife and I, we enjoy each other and we have fun. And so we had watching his dog. We went to take care of his house. He came back here. But now immediately I tell him, get some stuff ready for me. Because, you know what I mean? Like whatever you need in the house, like, I'm doing it. So I get there and I'm fixing windows. I'm replacing a door. But I'm not like in a burnout way because I have a choice, right?
Yeah,
so
I understand.
Like to do it. I want to do it. So we'll do 2 hours on the beach. No, you're burned up. Your sun's enough. You know, I play in the water. And I'm active. I'll get in the water. I'll snorkel. But after 3-4 hours of that, let's go back.
It's enough,
I hit the gym intentionally. Why? It's voluntary suffering. I still want to push myself and force myself to stay strong, to stay on. And then I go back and I work 2 hours in the house, in his house. In Hawaii, I'm working. And I'm like, why not? I'm buying him tools, organizing his place.
That's
this
so
kid,
cool.
My wife is like a cleaning monster. She's cleaning, painting stuff. I'm doing stuff. He comes back.
He wants you there all the time, man.
Yeah, we had a new door. We had his windows done. We had lights done. I outlets replaced. Reorganized his closet, put shelves up. And he came back and I was like, you know, he's like, wow, imagine that. We babysat his dog. So... You know,
he's going to build an in-law quarters for you now.
Yeah. But no, I mean, I think, you know, you got to keep your energy up. And I think goals keep your energy up and they keep your drive up, right? But why wouldn't you break your goals, right? That's the big question. And why a lot of people break their goals. You know
why do you think that is?
Dude, just to keep your word is a huge thing.
But it's a huge thing to you. Is it a huge thing to everybody, though? Is that the issue?
All right. So to say that I wasn't a procrastinator when I was younger, dude, I was a procrastinator. I was in college. I was literally no sleep. I would not study, and I would study like that night before I would study. So that changed over time, right? I'm no longer a last minute guy because you know I've changed my it was like a long pattern. But I think I the biggest thing is I keep my word. So it's a muscle, right? Like anything else, right? It's a skill that takes, if you do it repeatedly.
Yep.
And again, small, achievable, keep your word stuff.
Absolutely.
Just say, dude, I'm just going to walk around the block today.
Yeah.
Simple. Forget it, right?
Yep.
And I think it's over time. And they teach you that in Landmark thing as well. It's a muscle. And if you don't exercise it, it's never going to become. But the minute... I know you deal with shitty people that don't have character and their word means nothing. It makes you really want to make your word mean more, right? Because you want to stand out. You don't want to be the average or whatever. So a lot of, and you're right, maybe those beliefs in me not to want to be the standard or that average standard, I want it that in that realm. Whatever I say, it's going to happen.
Totally agree.
I've trained myself to do that. And therefore, whatever I set my mind to, if I want to be successful, because I think that alone, I'm going to do it.
Yeah.
I just said I'm going to make it happen.
Yeah.
It's like,
yeah. I totally agree. I've said some crazy things that I'm going to do in the past, and I still look at everything that I've done to this day. Yeah. I shouldn't have been able to do most of the things that I've done, but I set my mind to them, and I believed it, and I said I was going to do it, and I do it. That's it.
Right, but the key thing is, and I think so, you can't say you're going to do something like undoable. Like, so that becomes a tough thing to define, right?
Yeah.
Because now if you do something really tough to do and you fail at it, you've just told yourself you couldn't make it.
That's true.
And so you got to watch. You see what I mean?
Right.
It's a fine line.
You said it best.
You got to walk your way up to it.
Setting those incremental steps.
Yep.
You know, I'm going to buy a deal, not I'm going to buy 23 deals.
Right.
And then after you buy one, now I'm going to go buy 2 deals.
Yep.
Or even if it's just, like you said, I'm going to do 1 a year, whatever. Just set achievable goals and then start stacking on them.
Exactly. That's exactly what you're doing. You're absolutely right. And I'll continue to teach myself new skills. I mean, I'm really good at electrical. I'm really good at plumbing. I could fix any HVAC. I could... You know what I mean? Like I love that. I don't mind. Like, why not? Like I'm bored. I'll watch and I'll learn. And so I'll fix appliances because like mechanical. I mean, I'm master tech, BMW tech, right? So high level master.
You
33 years.
Yeah,
you're dealing with computers and hydraulics and air conditionings and
complex stuff,
all kinds of stuff. So really, it's not. You know what I mean? It's not a far stretch, right? But the key is to do it at a good standard, at a professional standard. That's
For sure.
the goal, right? And so it's fun, and so I keep pushing myself, and I push all my kids and everyone around me. Like, why not learn it? Why not do it? You know what I mean? What's it going to hurt you to have this skill? Like, you know, to have the choice. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I felt bad for my son, like, because he had issue with a car and he's in Hawaii, and I tell him, watch a YouTube video, do it. Like, you got time. You're a nurse. You got 3 days, right? And so, you know, when I was a sole earner, breadwinner for the family, and I'm raising 4 kids, and got to pay bills and blah, blah. I built a lot of stuff. I fixed a lot of stuff all by myself, right? So for me, that was my strength. And then going into real estate, so maybe some white collar people that aren't hands-on might fear it more because they know they got to pay retail for everything. Well, I knew if nothing else happens, whatever happens, I'm fixing it and it's going to be cheap. Right? Done right, but it's going to be done at the lowest price possible, right? And so for me, maybe that was, you know, I think that was an entry maker, right? You know what I mean? That made the deal for me.
Yeah, no, it was very similar for me.
But wouldn't it be fun? I mean, why not? You're a white collar. Why not challenge yourself and learn something simple to learn first, right? Then, you know, a year later, you'll be surprised. You're open, you succeeded, you're going to open and learn something else, you know, and add that. So like you said, stack it.
Yeah, I've had so many people over the years that have come to me and they have like no construction experience, no background, not even any connections to a family member that's in construction or anything like that. And they're like, I want to start flipping houses. I want to start buying rentals. And I can't give good, solid advice because my perspective is so different, right? Like I came from learning basically everything in the construction stuff and hands-on. YouTube University taught me a lot, man.
And there was no YouTube, you know, I was doing it though. So, but YouTube's amazing.
YouTube's great, man.
Anything car stuff. Actually, when I was in a VAC, and you could probably look them up, I made maybe, I don't know, 80 or 100 videos explaining how to fix this, how to diagnose this.
Dude, that's
you know
so
what I mean?
cool.
And if I found something that was really horrible, like a pain in the ass, I didn't mind sharing it. Like other mechanics were like, what are you telling people? Like, I'm like, dude, it's a shame. People shouldn't have to pay for this. This is a horrible problem that BMW made. And I would share it. And it's on YouTube. You can look them up. But it's so easy anymore, really. If you run and put your mind to something and you just take in the
information is there, man. Anything you want to learn, it's out there. It's very easily accessible. So go back a little bit to some of the strategy side from when you started buying 2013. So like you said you were buying around 40, 50,000 bucks and putting 20
so that was
something
the formula.
in.
And I had to start low because I didn't have a lot of capital, right? And so and the homes, everything was cheaper then. I mean, those homes, by the way, you know, I was into them, rehab 75, let's say 80.
And what were they worth? Like, what would they appraise for at that time?
They were worth probably back then about 75 or 85 max, right? I mean, at that time, right? That same house is 220 now.
Well, right.
Okay?
Yeah.
So that's the beauty of the real estate long buy and hold, right? So not only are you making your rental income, you're increasing in equity value, right? Appreciation, you got depreciation. So the strategy, baby. I don't want to get off point. You're saying what was the strategy?
Yeah, so you were all into them for around 70,000,
right.
And that's basically what they were worth. So how much were you pulling out when you refinanced?
Well, I think I know that some people say pulling out cash, but I was happy. So I was happy to leave some in there, right? So at that time, because the values were only 75, I was still leaving about 25 to 30 in each one. Okay. So you're right. Technically, it was shrinking. I was running out little by little. So what to do? That was brings me to my next solution. And again, there's a solution for everything. You could wholesale for cash or fix and flip. So then I started doing, I'm glad you told me this because I forgot. That was my other cash stream. So some people call it turbocharging your burr, right? And you would buy a fix and flip, fix it, flip it, 50,000 profit you made on that. You take that. Now that's a down payment for your next rental. Or next rehab to rent, okay? And I did that. I did every year, in addition to my acquiring my rentals, in addition to working at the shop, I would buy one rehab on the side, manage it. I might do some stuff myself. I'd be there on a Saturday, but every morning or every night, I'd swing by and check on progress. I'd pay guys, and I would fix and flip. I did one a year was my goal. I could have done 2 a year, but I was just doing 1 a year. Again, I'm working a lot, right? I didn't know how to work smart, but I was okay with working hard.
Yep.
But the smart part was a long game, right? That was the long game, and I knew if I continued to do this,
part,
yes, yep. Right, I might be not too smart, but I got a lot of energy, so nothing's going to stop me when
you're doing both at the same time. You're doing flips and rentals rather than getting slammed on the taxes from the flips, and you're kind of rolling everything into the rentals. Yeah. It's a great way. Yeah. I love that.
That was how you're right. That was one of my strategies because I kept. So after a couple, let's say I had 150, and then let's say I put 30 in each. Right after 5, you're out of cash. Yep. Right now, you know what I mean. So now what to do? And I wanted to keep this thing going because I'm looking around at the time.
Want to buy more?
Yeah. The market. I'm thinking, am I the only one? The rates are 3% and homes are this cheap, and like, no, this is crazy. Now, honestly, rents were only like $900 at that time. This was a single home that I got into. Those single homes now, the rents are like $1,500. Mm-hmm. So it's crazy, right? And I didn't bring any of them to that. I don't really want to. I like to keep my tenants long and stable. I don't want turnover. It's a pain if they're good. There's a lot of strategy in that mindset alone, right? Being like a landlord has its own little skill set. You got to learn it. You got to take time and be a people person. It's like, like tell them it's like kids. You got to be tough, but you got to be nice.
Yep.
You got to get the message across.
It's a fine balance, man.
You're not going to get the message across. You're going to create polarity, right? So, but anyway, that was a strategy. Yep, I did the burr, a flip, fix and flip, and then a couple burrs, and a fix and flip, and a couple burrs, fix and flip, a couple burrs. And then it started to snowball, honestly, and all the extra income was enough to save. Then I didn't really need it because now I had like an extra 100 a year, and now I could buy 2 or 3 more, and then another 100 next year, and then 2 or 3 more. And so I like to keep money in them. Actually, I have one I bought last year free. It was $160,000, but it's cash free. But I had to do it quick, and I didn't bother financing it. And I'm actually looking at putting a line of credit on it now to get another. Again, setting up capital for the move next year. Hopefully, to buy more. Right. So. And I think it's valuable. And one of the strategies I think is to have like a line or debt on your property,
of course,
as a protection from
asset
lawyers.
Protection through debt. Yeah, baby. Yeah.
Right? So that if they see free and clear in their eyes, they see dollar signs. People they think you got it made and
payday. So you mentioned next year reserving money and everything. What do you see?
Like I said, I think. And I'd like to keep goals a little flexible. I'm going to say 2 years, hopefully acquire. I could set 2 goals, either 20 more properties or just the income goal, which would be to hopefully double my spending income.
Okay.
I'd like to use the word spending income because that's what I want to do, right? The goal is to just have what I want to do. I want to travel and I want to, spend, and that's what you want to do with your money. What I mean? And it's being saved by the assets, right?
Absolutely.
So you know what I mean? Like, and the fascinating thing about real estate is everyone comes to it for security, right? And that's the beauty part about it. Because I'll be honest with you, not a big fan of leaving money in the bank.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? With these bank closures
doesn't
going
seem
on,
like
Americans haven't experienced it. But I'm Lebanese, and Lebanese banks 4 years ago, they set a trap. And they told people, if you put dollars in the bank, we're going to give you 16%. I was visiting my cousin back then. He told me, he's like, I'm getting 16%. I got it made. I'm like, whoa, what? Are you crazy? That doesn't sound right. It was a trap. They did it on purpose, and now there's reports. You'll watch it. They lured a lot of people to put their money in, and then the banks closed. And no one had access to that money. My cousin still to this day can't get it. 4 years later, their money's still held captive.
No crap.
I don't want money in the banks. I don't want in control. I don't want money in the market. I want it. So I look at every one of my properties as a little bank holding some money for me securely. And it's spinning off my dividends monthly.
That's right.
Right? I got to live off of that. But it's safe, and I protect them, and I care for them, and I care for the people that care for them.
Yep.
Right? And it's a long game. And I enjoy that. It's something to do. Like, I don't want to sit on the beach. I don't want to drink. I don't want to eat all the time. You know what I mean? Like, you get older, what the hell are you going to do? You're going to eat yourself to death, drink yourself to death? It's fun. It's exciting. I don't know. I'm enjoying it. I'm in a great place.
That's fantastic.
In my life.
That's
I really
winning.
am. I'm loving it.
That's winning, bro.
It's a great game. It's a great circle, and great business. I tell my kids, like, I don't force anything on my kids. But there's a fascinating book I read, The Wealthy Gardener, another real estate guy. He was a chiropractor full-time, same thing as me, working his ass off. How's he going to get it? And he started building Wealthy Gardener, John Saforic. Beautiful book. It had me crying at the end because he put it in a story format and he delivered it in a way that, from an angle of a farmer in a long game, right?
Okay.
And so he had this poor guy who came to him, a Mexican helper or whatever, and he gave him the opportunity to earn the ground, right? Not just gave him fruit, right? He said, "Here's the ground. Let's see what you could do with it." And he talks a lot about the season, the right season, and the right soil. And I talked to my kids a lot about this. It's like, you could put the seed in the soil, but if the soil ain't ready, right? It's not ripe for growing. It's not going to grow, right? So, and that teaches you patience, right? And then I don't force things on my kids. Is how I got to this game. So I told my kids, this is a wonderful business to be in. If you do it right and you do it in a generous way and in a kind way, you know what I mean? But in a disciplined and a smart way. It's still
a business.
Still business. Yeah. But that makes you more respectful. In the car business, I was that way. I would tell you the truth about your car. I would take care of it for you. But I'm not going to do it if it's not profitable.
Sure. Yep. It's got to make sense.
Why, right?
Yep.
I mean, it's like, you got, that's the goal. You're here to bring profit. But I would never, and I still don't, my values would never hurt anybody for money.
Of course.
Never do somebody wrong to take their money. I've lost money trying to do the right thing, but I would never deceive or take advantage for money.
Yep.
No. But anyway, so the values are about long term. You're putting the seed and it's gonna happen, and just do your thing. Like tend to the land. You know what I mean? Water it.
Yep.
And spend time with it. Beautiful philosophies, and it's peaceful and it works. You know what I mean?
So I feel like I probably know the answer to this question after talking with you, but do you have an exit strategy in mind?
And from real estate, I mean, if my kids say they want to do it, so that we go back to that. So, but again, like, what is exit? And I'm already there, right? I kind of exit it.
Right.
I exit it, whatever. I have the choice to do whatever I want. I can hand them all to management.
Yep.
Which would leave me doing what, right? So I don't, if I was a golf lover or fisherman, that would be great. And I'd say, I'm just going to go fishing, but I'm not there yet. So I'm volunteering. So right now I offered to volunteer for Good Works. It's a company that a couple of days a month, not a lot, because it's only been a year, not even 6 months that I'm free to design things as I want. But volunteering to help fix elderly people's homes, right?
That's
trying to use a
awesome.
skill set and help. It's a nonprofit, and so I'll do that a couple days a month. I'm looking at, we were just talking earlier about maybe doing some evening classes. I love teaching people about financial responsibility.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
Real estate management, like how to, just how to manage your money and how to because really it lacks it in schools, right? The practical way, right?
Yeah, it doesn't even exist.
Yeah. So anyway, that moving forward, I don't want to stop working.
Right. You're always going to be
right?
busy. You're always going to be active.
It's a love. So I don't care. But yeah, I mean, it could be handing it to the kids. Obviously, if I die, and I tell them, honestly, when I go, you guys will probably cash out if you want, and that's great. It's on you. But I think you should learn how to do it and take advantage of it. It's a wonderful business. Yep. It really is. I don't think there's any business like it, period, that you can leverage against it. It can be secured. Tons of write-offs.
Yep.
I mean, making more than double my job, and paid 6,000 taxes last year, whereas in my job I would have paid 80,000, I don't know, 60,000 if I had that same kind of income.
Yep.
Like, that's one benefit. It's like, hello.
Totally agree.
You know what I mean? Like, so I would love to pass it on, but they have to be willing, and I show them the fruits, but I don't force it. When there's seeds ready, they will blossom, I guess.
Have you done anything like to start to set something up, like in the event that something did happen to you? Like, do you have wills or trusts?
Yeah, well,
for
years
anything,
ago, I did a trust. My wife and I, we did set up a trust years ago. And a lot of my stuff is automated, like the bills are automated, mortgages are automated.
Yeah.
I'm a big fan of being organized. I have a Google Drive, so I do it on my phone. I have leases on there. I have everything on there. Wherever, if I'm on the road, I take care of it.
Everything in your fingertips. Yep.
And I showed the family. I try and keep it organized and systematic, because I'm a systems guy, like a lot of guys are. Everything has its place, and so it shouldn't be too hard for anybody if I were to disappear. But honestly, if I go, I go, and they can do whatever the hell they want with it at that point. Honestly, I mean, it's like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I've thought about it myself. It's like, if I were to die tomorrow, it's like, how long could everything that I have sustain without me? And like you said, I mean, some of this stuff, like file storage, all that stuff, and having my wife interconnected and knowing how we do stuff. And she did property management for a while, so she knows, right? Yeah. But it's like, the answer is it could sustain really, really long without really any major issues, right? Now, the wholesale company, a little bit different. That would probably die off relatively quickly because it's much more involved. But the rentals is a relatively passive thing. And not entirely. I hate when people say it's passive income because I think that's a little misleading.
Yeah, I self-manage, and I think realistically between paperwork and, like, because I'll take care of the bills too. I handle the bills and paper, taxes, or electric bills for the the multi-unit ones or whatever. Between paperwork and then hands-on, maybe 10 to 15 hours a week is all I do. I mean, but I'm a hands-on guy. So
you probably don't even need to. It's just that you're...
And all that'll happen, instead of whatever you take home, you're going to take home a couple thousand less a month, maybe, right?
Right.
If you pay sublet to other people.
Yep.
I recently had an electrical issue, and I called in because I had a lot going on. I was doing a water heater myself for one, and I was doing a storm door, and I was doing... And so I had to get electrical things solved, and so I hired an electrician. He did some work, and when he was done, I'm like, I'll take care of it from here. You solved the problem that I couldn't figure out, which is, where's the short? Some knucklehead had hidden a box in the ceiling, and that's where the
at least it was in a box, right?
Yeah, at least he boxed it. You're right. But yeah, he didn't leave any notes or any access, right? So that anyone knew anything was up there, but we knew it was up there. So anyway. But yeah, I mean, you pay, and it is what it is. I don't mind paying, but I want to do stuff right now because I'm still too energetic, still too young. If I physically start falling apart, I'll decide at that point. I could hand it over if the kids want it to the kids, or if they don't, give it to a management company. But I'll probably always own the properties. I'm never going to put money in the stock market.
I love that.
I don't trust the freaking stock market for nothing, man. And they keep baiting you to go back in there, and it's a trap. Banks are baiting you. It's a trap. Banks are a trap, and the stock market's a trap. Real estate's the place to keep.
That could be a whole rabbit hole.
We
won't go there. We won't go there. But so you mentioned you haven't bought anything in 2 years, but you're planning maybe in the next year to start buying stuff again, and maybe a lot of it. So what do you see changing? Like, what stopped you from buying for the last 2 years, and what do you think is going to change to make that accessible again?
Well, the thing is, another beautiful thing about real estate, rentals, again, I'm a long hold game player, but the rents went up a lot, right?
A lot.
I started when they were low, and my margins were pretty good. So everyone has a different metric to look for, and I keep mine simple because I'm a simple guy. I like to keep them simple. So I said my goal is 300 to 500 after PITI for every unit.
Okay.
So if it's a triplex, you could be on the 300 side per unit, right? Because now it's 900 for that building. That's the minimum. 500 would be ideal, right? And so if my margins were like that before, and I did raise a few rents, and I could still raise some more, and I still got room, but I'm not the type to kind of do that. It's a hedge against inflation as well, and we all talk about inflation.
Of course.
It's another beautiful benefit.
Of course.
Like, you know what I mean? Like, if there's a problem, you adjust it. You
Yep.
know what I mean? Like, there's no room, you adjust it. And so that strategy for that is handled, you know? Did I miss the point, the question?
No, you didn't miss the point. But I guess I probably didn't frame it properly anyway. Like, are you seeing that the market, because you haven't bought in 2 years because affordability of housing, it's crazy, right? It's
I think
we're
the
a little
consumer is
too
getting
high.
tapped out. I think the consumer
But you think we're going to start to see pricing come down a little bit?
Yeah, it's a clear trend. And, I watch a lot of, I'm into the marketplace.
Yeah.
I watch a lot of stuff. And it's a known thing. It's going to happen. How it's going to happen, everyone's off in timing, but it's going to happen.
Is it going to be a crash?
I hope not. I mean, there's a lot of, because I don't just watch real estate market. I'll watch the bigger picture too, because I'm into the bigger picture of stuff as well, like economy, and the banking stuff's not looking good. I don't think you hear about what's going on in the mainstream media, but it sounds like it. And again, I don't believe everything I hear at all.
Of course.
Even in YouTube or non-mainstream, everyone making claims, and I think the intelligent way is to frame that word claim. That's a claim they're making. Yep. I'm making claims.
Yep.
And I'll say it.
Yeah.
So as long as you keep saying whatever I hear is a claim and not a fact, right?
Of course.
That's the intelligent approach.
Of course, because all that you can do, all that any individual can do is take all of those as data points and try to formulate your own hypothesis based off of it, right?
Yep.
But I agree. It's like all the leading indicators point to, well, affordability is, at crisis levels, right?
Yeah.
Even rents, they are at unaffordable levels for the most part. Like the neighborhoods that we're talking about where our rentals are, it's like I try to flip-flop and put myself in the position of some of these families that are renting from us, and it's like, dude, they're paying the same for a 3-bedroom rental in a multifamily that I have that I'm paying for my mortgage. It's like that's crazy, right? If I was at that point, rewind my life 10 years and I was making, in a manufacturing company, like we're making $50,000 a year, paying $2,000 a month for rent. That sounds crazy.
Yeah.
But that's where we're at.
That's where the consumer is at. You're absolutely right. And I don't know where it's going. I mean, affordability and all, eating out. McDonald's is suffering. Starbucks is suffering. And these are like, McDonald's says they've lost their customer. They're the lowest, spending customer. They're losing it.
Yeah.
And so that's an indicator to me. It tells me something, It's not looking good. And I think, the Americans need, they need a little break, And so I backed off because I could have bought in and raised rents more and fed the frenzy. But it's like, for what? Where are we going? Let's get realistic. Let's help the average working guy because, they really can't. And that's where we're dealing with. Consumers are, it's a consumer driven economy and it's tapped out. Banks are tapped out, but they're over leveraged. Look at, they're saying our country's debt is $1 trillion a year, $1 trillion a year, just to service the country's debt, not to bring it down, just to keep it there. And we only make 23 trillion or 25
Incalculable,
trillion. It's ridiculous, right? So
here's my question for you. What do you need to see? What's the indicator for you? Like, what's that buy signal for you?
So, in layman and like simple terms, because I like simple stuff. I'm not a super exact guy because I don't think there's anything to be necessarily that exact about. I think there was a peak. So when I go to buy a property, I look at the history, right? That's for me. And then I say, well, in '08, it was here. We're past that mark, right? And we're past it by a lot. I'd be happy if it came within 20% of that, then I'd consider buying. But if it's twice that, that was a bubble. We're at a bubble. I'm not buying it. I won't pay more than, let's say, 20% of that, right? Max. I think that's probably if things
at least
adjust,
that's quantifiable.
That's where they're going to adjust to, right?
Okay.
So, I mentioned I had a property I might buy. It's a distressed property. The guy had it on the market for $925,000 in Jersey. And then I looked at the history, and he bought it in '08 for $725,000. That was probably overpaid in '08.
Yep.
And you could say, oh, well, then 20%, you could pay, it's probably worth $800 maybe or so now. That's still a little tight. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I would go even a little lower on that. Now, that's an oddball property. It's not just a house. It's got this huge industrial garage on the backyard. So anyway, but the point is that things got a little out of control before, and they had to adjust down. Things have gotten out of control, and they got to adjust back down. But my metric is probably somewhere close to the '08, a little more. I'm okay.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
I like that.
And that's what I look. I'll just look at the history because that market was.
Yep.
Those stats are coming from a real market at the real location with that time, right? And so that's my reference. And the rates don't matter much. I think everything's workable in the 8 range. I think, I mean, as long as it doesn't hit 12 or whatever, like 9, 8, okay, 7, nice, 6, great.
Yep.
But we're all in that same boat. You know what I mean?
Of course.
You just adjust the rent up accordingly to make sure you got those simple.
And
margins.
it has trended. The rent increases have correlated with interest rates and everything, right? So it does kind of all balance out one way or another.
Real estate is inflation hedger. It's a total. That's the beauty of it. Like you're having a tough time because prices went up, raise the rent. I mean, it sucks, but I got to do it. You got to respect the business.
Yep.
Right. We talked about that. You got to. I'll be nice. I could raise them. For instance, I have a 2-bedroom, beautiful apartment. It's a duplex, 2-2. We're paying $900. People are paying $1,200 or more.
Yeah.
And I could raise it. They've been there 2 years. I only bought this place. It was beautifully done, but I might go $50 this year.
Okay.
Okay. Because again, I'm doing okay. The margins are good.
Right.
But I know expenses went up for repairs and whatnot. Right. Taxes went up a little bit. This went up a little bit. So I'll move it a little bit. But am I going to add $200 a month? No. I mean, because I know it's just these people. I know they're already tight.
Yeah.
I don't have to be greedy. Be generous and be grateful. Life is.
So let me ask you: with any of your long-term tenants, like, do you make it a process to every year, like, do a small increase, or you just leave it the same?
No, I don't do it every year.
People.
I don't do it every year. If they're far off, like, I have one house, I have a couple. My first tenant is at 1,100, 3-bed, 2-bath, right? And that's very low. It's still 1,100. And it came in at about 950. So I did move it up a little bit.
Okay.
Next year, I'm going to move it up a little bit
Bump it
more.
a little bit.
I'm not going to go to 15 or 18 where some of these people are charging.
Yep.
Because she's living by herself. She keeps the place beautiful. They don't bug me. It's just...
Yeah.
I got the
no, there's a massive value to that, man.
There's a lot. And, it's not.
I love it. I think that's a great strategy, man. You're doing it. You're doing it.
And things get tight and I have to, I'll tell them and I'll do it, right? But, I don't really have to. I'm making that adjustment because some costs did go up a little bit.
Yep.
But, that's so I have 2 of those that are like around that range. And then... So, I'll make regular small adjustments, but I'll keep it, palatable and, not to keep,
I love it.
They take care of me. I take care of them. So.
That's what it's all about, man. So when you were buying deals, where were you finding them? Were you like doing your own marketing? Were you buying MLS? Were you word of mouth?
I do it all over. So, I bought, my cousin is a realtor and he got me the first couple. But then I was on that block, ironically, and I see a sign for sale by owner. And then said, again, when we talk about learning and stretching your skills, I was like, can I handle this on my own? And then so, you know what I mean? So, well, what's buying a house? Well, you need a title company.
Yep.
How do I make sure it's clear? I'll just give this address to the title company because I've been through it. And I'm friendly with a title company already, so I learned how to buy on my own. Yeah. What do I got to do? I got to negotiate first. Ask them what do you owe? What do you? And make sure it's clean. Come to write an agreement. Bring that to the title company. So then I learned all the mechanisms in buying and selling on my own. Right? So I bought that through my own. It worked out great. There was I think I probably bought 3 directly from the sellers on my own. I might have bought 2 from wholesalers. And honestly, the rest were MLS because the market, it was still a seller's, a buyer's
Buyer's market,
yeah, because there was no battles going on, no bidding like crazy.
Yep.
And so whatever you wanted to fix, you felt you had the energy to put sweat equity into, you could buy it at a reasonable price, and put sweat equity into it and enjoy it. And when I bought them, I tried to make all the mechanicals right, the plumbing and electric. These are the comeback problems. If you handle them right, honestly, you really don't get a lot of callbacks, and I don't for that reason. I try to do right the first time.
Yep, I love it. Last question for you: if you could rewind 30 years, what would you tell yourself?
Run and do some physical endurance exercise. Force yourself to do it because that's going to force you to, you know what I mean? Like practice keeping your word, and that's number one. Of course, read more. I probably didn't read a lot and learn a lot when I was younger. Like I didn't seek books. The 3 big things are learning, seeking, and training myself to keep my word. Right, that became huge, and then keeping my energy level up. Because I was like, oh, how do you get the energy to do all that? I'm like, dude, I have energy like it's crazy, right? And I don't know. And I think the endurance stuff that I do, like sticking to my routine, doing a workout and weights and doing cycling. So you keep your energy up between keeping your word, keeping your energy up, and then learning. There's no way you're not going to ignite a fire.
Yeah, I love that.
Get something lit. There's no way, you know. And so I, not a big picture guy. I didn't have that. I was lacking that focus. But I, just do anything with that fire, and then start weeding it out. That's all.
Anything that you do with a level of intensity and focus is gonna serve you well. And you said it best earlier on, right? It's like success comes in all different sizes and shapes, and it's different for everyone. But if you're succeeding at what it is you want to do and putting one foot in front of the other and having progress, it's like that's winning pretty much universally across the board.
And that's what you're right. And I tell my kids that. I said, just succeed at keeping your word first. Let's just work on that.
That's huge.
Then succeed at reading books next. Let's do that, because these are all working on yourself. Because if honestly, very few, the 1-2% are born with this crazy vision that they're on fire from 15 and they start making $1 billion at 21. These are disgusting.
Incredibly
people.
Rare. Yeah.
For the average person, we don't want to hear that. I'm an average guy. I don't. You know what I mean? Like, I'm the voice for the average guy. Honestly, I really, you know what I mean? And so.
And that's why doing this is so important. That's why I'm so thankful that you came on today and everything and did the podcast, because, man, it's like we are the majority of people, right? It's like didn't get born with hundreds of millions of dollars to inherit to go start doing whatever it is we want to do. So showing someone that it's like it's possible, even if later in life, right? You started later in life. I'm not calling you old, but you started later in life in the real estate side.
How
you did.
Old are you now? Are you
What's
allowed
that?
to tell?
Me? I'm 34.
Are you? Wow.
34.
Dude, wow. That's awesome. Like if I could have done this that age, that's amazing. That's cool. You're doing awesome. You're doing a great job. I see your family. Honestly, I'm a family guy.
Me too, man.
Huge investing in family. Like, so the reason probably why I also delayed my real estate is because I always felt like, dude, if you can't get it done in like 50, 60 hours, and garage business is brutal. You're not going in fixing cars in 8 hours and leaving, not to play my own violin, but, first 20 years, 1 week vacations. That's it. First 20 years. And first 20 years, no lunches.
It's a long time, man.
20 years, no lunches, 5 days a week, right? But, maybe this is like commonplace, it's blue collar world, right? And so that when that happens, it changes you. Like you don't see anything that hard anymore. Like it's not, you know what I mean? So then to add another day.
Yeah.
But to go back to my family investment thing, I love my kids, I love my wife, and I'm very loyal because I keep my word, right? So why would you not keep your word with your wife?
Of course.
You're keeping your word with everything else, right? So you keep your word with your kids, you keep your word with your wife. Critical, right?
Yep.
And so I felt at the time, and I'm the sole provider, like if I can't do it in 50, 60 hours, I'm not going to steal another day from them. So I stayed with them Saturdays. I was with the kids, hanging out, doing stuff, right? I missed them days. They were beautiful. So enjoy it. But family gets me. Never sacrifice for family.
It's so important, man. And that's...
Not for sacrifice the family is what I mean, right?
I get what you mean.
Do whatever it takes to provide, right?
I get
and
what you mean.
that's honestly the job for the man, right?
It is.
Not to sound like these days you say that and it's like
Yeah.
this horrible thing, right?
Yeah.
But, you know, I mean, some people have a dual income and it's okay. And some people don't, and that's okay, right? But, you know, I see people that don't invest time, right, into the business or the future of their family, or they'll you know, I'm not against sports or any entertainment, but you got to limit your entertainment. Like,
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, when I tell this to my kids, I said, look, you honestly, you get what you reap, what you sow, right? So if you're entertaining yourself so much that you're not applying yourself to your future, what's that? So don't come to me and get mad why you don't have the money and I got the money.
That's right.
You know what I mean?
That's right.
Because while you're like entertaining yourself, I'm like, why am I entertaining myself? Let me go fix something. Let me go buy something.
Yeah.
Let me go read something, right? And I'm putting my... So, you know, you will succeed at anything if you're focused at it and you put your time where you're looking. And this isn't... I used to race motorcycles and cars on the track too. And, you know, sometimes there was this one part of the track where I kept going off on it. And because I was afraid of this turn and I would look at the turn and I wouldn't look past the turn. And they say, you go where your eyes are, right? So I don't never forget that analogy. I don't know why. I learned it in Kung Fu too. But I was on the motorcycle and I had to go off track and I couldn't get myself to... So I'm running this turn at like 100 and something miles an hour. And I'm like, oh my God, here comes that stupid turn. And I would go off. And I have to watch how I brake because now it's grass and you could slide out. But I'm like, what is the hang up? And they kept saying, look past turn. You got to look a little ahead, not too far ahead, right?
Yeah, yeah.
But just ahead to keep you. So where your eyes are, where you going? If your eyes are on this, or your eyes on non-productive or non-goal, where you want to go,
Yep.
You're distracting yourself. You're off course. You know
Totally
what I mean?
agree. Totally agree,
Another
man.
fantastic analogy. That's, you know, I don't have a lot of wisdom, but there's a few.
No, man, that's great. That's great. Like, as you were saying that, I was thinking back to the cash flow, the Robert Kiyosaki game and everything. It's like when you kind of boil everything down, you can simplify everything that is an issue with the American people today. Is like what we're too focused on consumption, right? But if you just simplify it to produce more than you consume, because that's the same as the cash flow game, right? Have assets greater than your expenses. But to simplify that even further, it's just produce more than you consume.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
It's not a lot of people want to produce anymore. They just want to consume. And I think that's a disease, man.
No, it is.
I think that's bad.
Well, yeah. I mean, just like we were talking about, how do you feed your word, right? How do you feed yourself to encourage the word, keeping your word? And that's by doing it repeatedly. Well, if you're repeating the same activity of consuming or entertaining or distracting, I mean, I'm sorry, all these short videos they make and they're just more and more distracting. Mm-hmm. Again, unless that's what you're trying to achieve. Now, I tell my kids, it's okay. If you want to be a podcaster and you're watching that, it's great. If you're watching, you know, but there's too much entertainment.
There is.
Way too much entertainment.
There is.
Way too much distraction.
And people love pleasure too much and don't want the suffering.
Yeah.
Embrace
we don't want to drag
suffering.
this podcast on forever, but yeah, the Chinese and other people are investing themselves into it. Like there's a huge influx of Asians or Indians in this country that are I hear they're the most successful group. They're focused on, you know what I mean? I'm an immigrant too, so maybe that played a role into my drive, where
Sure.
they say it does, and I had nothing. There was some people say I came to this country with $2 in my new line, and I never used to say this, but I started life with a negative 60,000, right? So my dad left my mom with debt.
Okay.
And I had to pay it, me and my brother, and so that I actually started in negative when I was 18. I started paying my mom's debts and paying her bills, and cheerfully, right? I tell people, I don't say it to kind of make any note of it, or make anyone feel bad. I never even spoke of it till last year when I started replaying my life and figuring out what happened and what's going on.
It's interesting.
But I tell my kids that. I said, not to make you feel bad. I don't want money from you. I said, but my dad left me, and till my wife and I got married. I was 27 when we got married. From 18 to 27, I was paying bills for my parents and going to school and working at the shop. I was dancing at the time for extra money, which that's a different story.
Wow, yeah, that's a story for another day.
But anyway, so talk about 7 days a week hustling, right, to pay the debt. And then by the time I was still paying until I was 27, and my dad, I remember he called me and I was 27. I'm sitting on bed. My wife and I just bought our condo in Westchester, $80,000, it was actually 70,000. And he called me and I'm like, Dad, I just got married. I'm trying to start a life. I can't pay you
This is
any more
hard,
money.
yeah.
He wanted $300. I'm like, I can't do it. I'm sorry. You know what I mean? And but if people say, well, that was your why. Well, that was it took me 20 years later to manifest a real why. I don't know, you know what I mean? But got to this tangent just saying how we sacrifice and how we come up with the whys, or our suffering that causes us to keep moving or move on. I don't know. It's an interesting thing, but there's different ingredients for different people, and it's hard to predict it.
There is.
But immigrants are forced to be reckoned with, and I don't say it. I'm American. I love American people, but I think we all should embrace work a little more.
100%.
Maybe with robots coming, we don't have to, so I might be wrong. I might stand corrected.
What we shall see.
I'm very aware of current situation, guys, but I think the physical fitness, or the pushing yourself in the physical realm,
that's
just
huge.
Makes you more welcome to hard times. You know what I mean?
Yes.
You volunteered suffering. That's so cool. I love it,
dude. I love that. That's so powerful.
Is,
Thank you so much for coming on today. This has been awesome. I think a lot of people are going to get some gold nuggets out of this and everything. It's an inspiring journey you've had, and I appreciate you, brother.
Thank you. Thanks for having me, honestly. It's good to share.
Awesome, man. Thank you so much.
All right.